I'm Elise Wells, and thank you for seeking Numina with me here today on the beach in Greece. And today we're going to talk about the real reason you're not traveling. The real reason a lot of people don't travel isn't any of the excuses that we usually give. It's really the fact that we don't realize how much we need to, and so we don't make it a priority. And it's not even your fault that you don't realize how much you need to travel. You hear about it all the time. Everybody tells you how great their trip was. You might even feel jealous when you see people's posts on social media. But the fact is that there's a part of us inside that doesn't really want us to be trying new things, learning new cultures, embracing new experiences, and that is the ego. And I'm not going to tell you that the ego is evil and ruining your life and needs to be killed and squashed and ignored at all costs. No. The ego is actually there to help us. It's the part of us that teaches us to be safe. It looks out for us. And fear is fed by the ego only when it's afraid, the ego itself is afraid that we aren't going to be safe. And travel is new, it's bold, it's brave, it's something that's different. And anything different, the ego might be afraid to try. Sometimes we're even afraid to try a new restaurant in town or to drive to a new city that's not even a real traveling trip. It's just a day trip. It's just a little ways away. We find ourselves putting it off. And that's the ego saying there's something to be afraid of here. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's not actually the things you think you're afraid of. The fears we have around traveling, the fear that if we travel alone, something really bad could happen, especially for women. The fear that planes might crash, that we'll get lost or lose our passports. The fear that there's something that might happen that's totally out of our control that could ruin our lives or end our lives or we get sex trafficked. These things are really unlikely to happen. And if you're traveling with a clear head and staying safe and, doing the best you can, that's really not going to happen. You need to have more faith in yourself. And in fact, that's something travel will teach you. It'll teach you to trust in yourself and be empowered in yourself. The biggest lesson I've taken from travel is to feel confident and know that I can trust myself to do what I'm trying to do. The real fear that ego has, that ego tries to manipulate you into not taking action, the real fear is about change. Your ego loves the status quo. It loves when things are the way they are. Even though everybody's life has problems, the ego's not concerned with that because they're safe problems, they're familiar problems, they're comfortable problems, they're things it knows about, has seen before, and knows what to do with. But when we add something like travel, especially to a new country, the ego is like, how can I? But the fact is, you've dealt with struggle before and you're going to continue to deal with struggle. So there's nothing travel can throw at you that you can't handle. And the trust you build with yourself over the course of an adventure is going to be better for you in the long run. The real fear ego has comes from its fear of growth. Change brings growth. New experiences, new environments, new people, new languages, new foods, all these things bring change and growth. And the ego doesn't want that because it doesn't know how to function within that realm. Safety equals familiar as far as the ego is concerned. But the fact is that travel is perfectly safe and growth is healthy. Growth doesn't mean change of your core being, but it does mean adapting and growing into the best you that you already can be. Growth and change can happen anywhere, and of course it happens at home. But when we travel, it's like escalating the process. It's something that is so short, most vacations are 5 to 10 days, but in that time, you'll grow and learn things about yourself that you never realized you needed to learn. Think about your life like a painted photograph. You're within it. And on the sides of you are the people you love, your coworkers, the job you have, your house, your community, the town you live in, and you're within it. So you're looking around at it and it's kind of hard to really see because you're a part of it. When you travel, you're stepping back and you're putting your painting in frame for yourself. And you're more able to notice details, to notice inconsistencies, to notice problems. And this is why travel stimulates growth. When we travel, sometimes a lot of the stressors that we think are there are really self-imposed. We might get wrapped up in the minutia of planning every single detail of our day. Something else that feeds our ego's fear are other people. And they might not do this intentionally, but sometimes they do. And maybe they don't want you to travel because they're jealous. They feel like they can't travel. Maybe they don't want you to travel because they're afraid for you. Their ego's feeding their fears of travel, which is then feeding your ego's fears of travel. Sometimes travel just seems superfluous to others, and so they'll belittle it. But you need to make the choices for your own happiness. You are the only person who can stimulate your growth. Teachers and good friends and healthy relationships, absolutely. But at the core, it's always you. You are your own best friend. You are the person who knows you best. And when we're traveling, we have a chance to get to know ourselves even better. Solo travel is one of the best ways to get to know yourself and to foster self-love. When we talk about self-care, we're not talking about shoehorning bubble baths into that 1 hour of free time you have every month. We're talking about travel, extravagant self-love. We're not talking about buying something that maybe buzzes some serotonin while you're purchasing and when you bring it home and then you kind of forget about it. We're talking about experiences. The best self-care is experience. So find something that you want to do and plan that trip. And don't get bogged down in the minutia of planning. Don't stress about what you're going to eat each night you're there and exactly this hour you're going to be doing this thing. But make one goal. I'd like to see the ancient temples of Greece, and do that. Make a list of 3 you'd like to see, 1 per day, and then fit in around that while you're here the things that you'd like to do. All travel is spiritual travel. When you're traveling for joy and personal growth and self-love. And here's the thing, if I'm wrong, if travel isn't gonna help you, go find out for yourself. And then let me know in the comments if you didn't have any good experiences, if travel didn't help you get to know yourself better, if you didn't feel like you grew because of the experiences you had. And also leave a comment if you find that it did. Please, I would love to hear how travel has changed your life. Let me know in the comments below. I'm Elise Wells, and thank you for seeking Noumena with me here today on the beaches of Greece. Please like and subscribe so that you get all my updates on spiritual travels.